So dumbbell tricep kickbacks. These are a great exercise, again, for focusing primarily on the long head of the tricep. You can, of course, do these at home or at the gym, anywhere that you have access to some load. A dumbbell is ideal. And like all of our, or most of our upper body isolated exercises of biceps, triceps, and shoulders, these can be done either stabilized, in this case, kneeling on a bench, or from standing. So I'm going to demonstrate both. I'm going to give you the suggestion of doing one arm at a time. So sometimes when you're in a fitness class, you'll grab both of those dumbbells and you'll do two at a time. And if you're on a time constraint, then sure, go ahead. But there's typically so much imbalance in the triceps, in the strength and the functionality of the triceps, that there is much more benefit to doing one arm at a time. You can mentally isolate and focus on that one arm. And one thing that I will say is, unless you are quite experienced with your tricep kickbacks, when you're doing two at a time, it's much more natural to see people it's much more likely to see people starting to rely on momentum rather than that slow, isolated contraction, which is really, of course, where the benefit is coming. So I would say that's the biggest error with tricep kickbacks, is the momentum. And you can help to alleviate that problem by focusing on one arm at a time. Also, from isolating yourself by positioning your body on the bench will also, as you're learning, these exercises, and I'll be honest, I still, after all these years, still prefer to do my tricep kickbacks isolated, one arm at a time, kneeling on the bench. So if that's the modality that we're taking, if that's the approach we're going to take, you're going to place one knee on the bench and one foot on the ground. You're going to have your dumbbell, a moderate, light, moderate weight. Glue your upper arm to your side. Parallel your torso as best as you can to the ground. You might be on a little bit of an incline depending on the angle. Fully extend and then come to about a 90-degree angle. Fully extend, come to a 90-degree angle. Exhale, contract, release with control. Exhale, contract, release with control. So I see a lot of folks doing the swings. That's common error number one. And then another one is to move the whole upper arm with that movement. So go light, isolate, fully extend, and you only need to bring the elbow to about a 90-degree angle, not much less than that. Well, not much more movement, but not much less of an angle, or you're essentially just kind of wasting your time. So keep tension as much as possible. So these are like my least favorite, because I think they're such a truth teller of the weakness of my own triceps. They're not a strong part comparably in my body, so that's why I struggle with them. You can also do these from standing, like I said, and in this case, I'll show you from a different angle. You can have your bench up, so you have something to lean on. You can stabilize yourself any way you like. You put your arm here, elbow here, whatever works, and isolate in that way. Okay, so that would be my preference, rather than just standing. See how much more momentum there's going to be when you do that? And I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. And then you could, of course, if you wanted to, have two dumbbells, hinge from the hips when you're ready, and fully extend. Okay, so with the triceps, we're going to talk a lot about load and repetitions as we get deeper and deeper into our program. But understanding that with triceps, because it is such an isolated, specific muscle responsible only for the extension of your elbow, higher reps and a lower weight is typically recommended when you're focusing on triceps. You're not trying to build like brute strength necessarily in your triceps. You're working at building functionality and, again, the isolation of those three heads. So that's your tutorial for your tricep kickback.